Good afternoon. It's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world. Of course, we look at the market watch, stocks we're paying attention to, and all the local and national stories that you need to know as well. And it is possibly a big day here. As we know, government shutdown is on the horizon. We'll get you the updates on that coming up as well, because this could make it a very interesting business show if the government does, in fact, shut down here later on today as well. So we'll get your updates on that and more. Now let's get into that market watch. Well, it's gotten a little bit better as the day has gone on, but overall it's been a down day here on the stock market. So we're seeing some green coming into the markets, as you see on your screen right now, but obviously the U.S. government shutdown is the big worry here as well. Wall Street is headed for monthly gains, even though here on September 30th, last day of the month, we usually see a lot of sell-offs on the last day of the month as big companies start to balance their portfolios, take some tax credits, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we're getting a little bit of a difference here today. Right now, the Dow Jones is up the 40 points to 46,331. The S&P 500's up 17 points to 6672. The Nasdaq's up 2 points right now to 22,593. The Russell 2K, that small cap index, well, it's down 9 points right now, 24.25 for it. And then even Bitcoin is kind of getting wrapped up in this, down day today with this government coming here. It's down 546 points right now. It's at 113,818 for Bitcoin, as Bitcoin coming down from that 114,000, 115,000 range that has been gradually going up to yesterday, over the weekend, and then into yesterday as well. Stocks we're paying attention to right now, we're going to look at UiPath is the first stock. They're an automation company, 6.85% up as of right now for them. They were up over 10% earlier today, so we're seeing a downhill slide for them, but they announced partnerships with OpenAI, Snowflake, and even NVIDIA. It's part of the agreements. The companies will incorporate UiPath's automation technology into those AI capabilities is what they're looking to do there. So up 6.93%, working with some big companies out there. UiPath is doing here today. So next up, we're going to look at Pfizer. You guys know Pfizer, the drug manufacturer, but we're going to speak specifically of Eliquis. That is a blood thinner that Pfizer does manufacture. Well, Pfizer's up 6.33% here today. Right now, CNBC came out and reported that Pfizer and the Trump administration will announce an agreement to lower Medicaid drug prices, which is always a good news here in terms of the government and pricing of medicine. Pfizer also won a 3-year reprieve from planned pharmaceutical tariffs. How did they get that reprieve on any of those 100% pharmaceutical tariffs that Trump keeps threatening? Well, they're expanding their U.S. manufacturing. They've announced it. They're moving forward on that. So Pfizer gets that reprieve as well. That's why Pfizer's up here, 6.25% here today. And then finally, let's look at Spotify, everybody's favorite music service. I guess Apple Music's pretty big up there too. Of course, podcasts, etc. You can find the main event on Spotify as well. The pit stop on Spotify. Well, they're down 5.56% here today. Spotify is. Well, their CEO, Daniel Elk, he's going to step down from his position. He's going to move over to the role of executive chairman. So the CEO movement here is one reason they're down, but also Goldman Sachs actually downgraded Spotify. It's at neutral now. It was at buy before. Goldman Sachs did say it has little room to run up after its run up here that Spotify's been on lately. So to give you an idea on that, Spotify's actually up about 54% this year before today's 5% downgrade here for them. So Goldman Sachs says there's not much of an uphill for Spotify as of right now. So they're saying they'll put it in neutral. And CEO moving on from Spotify. Yeah, Spotify down 5.48% here today. Stocks we'll come back and look at later on when we do our market watch. We're going to look at CoreWeave. as well for them, or their AI type company as well. And then United Natural Foods, that healthy grocery company. We're going to look at their stock, and then let's go back to the mining stocks as well here in a little bit. Freeport McMoran as well. As we know, they've been in the news. They've been a stock we have been paying attention to a lot lately from that perspective. So we'll take a look at them and get you updated as well. And as I said, the big thing around the market and what everybody is talking about right now is this potential government shutdown. It has to be done by tonight at midnight, or else the government's going to shut down. You're going to see a lot of furloughing of employees, big layoffs in the government side of things as well. And one thing we know we'll see as well is some of these economic reports aren't going to be able to come out. Possibly one of the last reports for a while. If the shutdown happens, well, today's job opening and job turnover survey that did come out. It does show that the number of available jobs increased slightly to 7.23 million jobs, and that was at the end of August. Now it's at an upwardly revised 7.21 million jobs. The monthly report does carry added weight this week, because of the economy. Federal government shutting down, what's going to happen, people losing their jobs, how's that going to affect the economy, et cetera. So the other thing is we're not going to get later on in the week, unless something happens, we're not going to get, labor market data. Things like the jobs report that's scheduled to come out on Friday as well. That could be delayed here coming up as well. Because the Bureau of Labor Statistics, obviously, being a government entity, will fall guilty and fall into the layoffs that are expected to happen if this government shutdown does move on. So skeleton crews are coming on board if a deal's not done here by tonight as well. And that obviously, you can't get the gathering of data, et cetera, coming up. So we have that report here today coming out as well. We also got U.S. consumer confidence reporting here today as well. And kind of, like I said, a last glimpse at the market here before we move into this this government shutdown era. And consumer confidence, well, it declined again in September. Americans' pessimism over inflation, but not just inflation that's always been on everybody's mind. The weakening job market is those issues and those concerns are continuing to grow with consumer confidence. The conference board did say Tuesday that its consumer confidence index, well, it actually fell by 3.6 points. It's down to 94.2 in September. That is down from August 97.8 reading at that time. That's a bigger drop than analysts were expecting. It's the lowest reading since April. That was back when, of course, we know the Liberation Day on the tariffs there by the Trump administration. The measure of Americans' short-term expectations for their income is another thing to look at. Business conditions, job market, well, that fell to 73.4. Yes. Well below 80, which is the number that the market, 80 is where the level is where they start to signal a recession coming ahead. And it's coming in at 73.4, again, below that 80 number. So that's where you get that recession talk from a lot of people that study this stuff. Consumers' assessments of current economic situation, it actually went down 7 points. It's now at 125.4 with this reporting as well. Now, you're allowed to do write-in responses with this consumer confidence side as well. And those write-in responses did show that references to prices and inflation, well, they rose this month in those write-in numbers. That's what people are writing in what they're concerned about. So it does regain its top position as consumers' main concern about the economy. Mentions of tariffs, well, they declined this month, but they do remain up there, a high level of those, even though there's less of them in those write-in categories coming up. So consumer confidence going down as well, as we've known it's happened here in the last couple months, and what it is looking at as well there. So economic data reports here in this government shutdown looming. It's just not good signs here, pointing in the right direction here on Tuesday here, September 30th, right? Now let's go to, and with this government shutdown, I see here breaking news right now. Spirit Airlines has come out and they're touting massive progress, was their words, in their bankruptcy and things. Of course, yesterday we talked about Lufthansa Group with all their airlines and how they're projecting huge gross profits coming up by 2030, huge growth on their side. Well, with this government shutdown, though, U.S. airlines and the aviation groups, they are warning Congress that a government shutdown at midnight is going to disrupt air travel. It's going to jeopardize safety, according to them, and stall efforts to modernize the nation's air traffic control system that needs heavy modernization. This warning is coming from a letter. It's from the Modern Skies Coalition. That does include Airlines for America. That's a trade group for United, Delta, American, Southwest, and the other carriers, I should say. I should just said all the carriers. But it also includes airports, pilots, controllers, even manufacturers like Boeing are in this coalition. This letter that the coalition put out said a shutdown would force the FAA to suspend hiring and training, which obviously is not a good sign, but it's also going to delay safety incentives initiatives, I should say, and even create costly backlogs across the whole aviation system coming up with this government shutdown. The letter also underscored the broader economic risk of a government shutdown to the aviation industry. They did note that U.S. aviation industry contributes more than 5% of GDP. So what is 5% of GDP? It's about $1.37 trillion back in 2023. That's the last year it was reported on. It supports over 10 million jobs as well. The group says that a 35-day shutdown in 2018 to 2019 alone, for that time frame, that 35 days, cost the economy $3 billion in lost activity, and it was never recovered, according to this letter as well out there. So we're talking big money here with this shutdown in a lot of industries. This is just the aviation one that we're looking at right now. This whole coalition letter did warn that a shutdown would freeze FAA hiring and training. During other shutdowns, the agency was forced to close the Create Training Academy that they have. I believe it's in Oklahoma, if I remember correctly. It's a move, of course, that hurt staffing shortages. Once operations resumed, people weren't ready to step into their roles with that shutdown. So a lot of concerns here, especially on the aviation side of things. The FAA is about 3,800 air traffic controllers short of its target staffing levels right now. And that doesn't include what's going to happen if the government does shut down, right? So this coalition did say it has supported Transport Secretary Sean Duffy's move to increase the numbers of the air traffic controllers that are ready to step in and able to step in. And so there's one industry talking big about the economy if the government does shut down, and their specific industry economy as well out there. And let's go from the skies to the cars. We told you about this before. Hertz, Amazon joining forces coming up in terms of selling cars. Well, we got Carvana here locally and a couple other, major car dealerships and used car places. Well, earlier today, Hertz finally announced the details and the launch of a fully online car buying capability at hertzcarsales.com is a new place to go. Shoppers can browse, finance, and purchase vehicles entirely online. It's nationwide, by the way, through an enhanced digital platform that they've created. This builds on Hertz's recent partnership, like I said, with Amazon Autos, and that announcement a month or two ago. That collaboration allows Hertz customers to browse, finance, even schedule vehicle pickup directly through Amazon. Initially launched in 4 cities, the program is now expanded to the Hertz car sales locations throughout the U.S. Every location, Florida. I know Florida was kind of a question mark, and if they get there in time, but even Florida and all those question mark Hertz places are involved in this right off the bat. Hertz is Amazon Auto's first fleet dealer on that program. The dealer's off-rotating fleet includes well-known and obviously, all the well-known vehicle brands, right? Ford, Chevy, Toyota, Nissan are all available on this. Over the past year, we all know Hertz is focused on growing its retail channels for selling used cars. That does include the expansion of its rent-to-buy program. That's the program that allows customers to rent a car for up to 3 days at a special rate. And then you can decide if you whether want to purchase it or not at that point. So basically a test drive and a rental program moving forward for Hertz. So Hertz doing some innovative things in the car rental business program for them as well. And we know the housing market is just stuck right now, right? We know how expensive it is to buy a home right now as well. interest rates, the prices of homes, etc. Well, now we're getting some information on how much it costs for home repair, even remodeling side of things. And I know this all too well. I have rental properties, several of them, and people move out. You got to fix them up. The costs for the last couple years have skyrocketed. What used to cost $100 for stuff to get, it's now costing $200-$300, like doors, for instance, and things like that. Well, it's not just in my mind as I look at it and everything. It's actually out there, and I have numbers for you. Because that cost for home repair and remodeling projects, it's up compared to a year ago, and it's running ahead of inflation overall, folks. So it is speedingly getting more expensive as we move on here as well. This is all according to data from data analytics company Verisic out there. They did a repair and remodeling index. It jumped 3.4% in April to June quarter compared to the same period in the last year. Well, that's a bigger annual increase than the 2.7% rise in inflation in that same period. And that's measured by the Consumer Price Index, as we all know. So almost, I'm going to say double just because of math simplicity here, but 2.7% CPI, well, 3.4%, right, in the remodeling side. Almost a full point, I should say, not double, full point above at that point. This index tracks costs for more than 10,000 home improvement projects, appliances, doors, plumbing, windows, those types of items. It showed a roughly 0.6% increase from January to March quarter in that time frame. The most labor-intensive types of home repairs or remodeling work, well, they're the biggest quarterly increases in labor costs. So, tile, for instance, very labor-intensive, more and more expensive from that side, right? They give an example here. The cost of replacing tile flooring, it's up 1.2%. The cost of remodeling a primary bath or replacing vinyl siding, well, they rose about 1% in that April to June period from the previous quarter. 1% doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot when it comes to remodeling and what we're dealing with for that side of things. The latest index does put costs of repairs and remodeling at almost 62% higher, folks, than they were a year ago. 10 years ago, excuse me. 62% higher than 10 years ago. You want to get a little bit closer? Well, 73% higher than the first quarter of 2013. That's when this index actually debuted. 10 years, 62% higher, folks, in terms of remodeling. Not just remodeling, just fixing stuff around your house out there. After declining the past 2 years, homeowner spending on maintenance and home improvement projects, well, it's increasing as well. This is in the first half of this year, it's actually gone up. Got to fix the things you're stuck living in, right? Well, this is researchers at Harvard University came out and they found the most leading indicator of remodeling activity, the LIRA is what they call it. It estimates spending hit $510 billion in the second quarter, a 1.8% increase from a year earlier. However, researchers project that growth is spending on home improvement, even more so now, and maintenance is actually going to slow down in 2026. I'm assuming because of the cost, right, that we're dealing with as well. But obviously the weakness in the housing market, slower construction of new homes is leading to that as well. So tell your kids to not throw stuff and break things around the house because it's a lot more expensive to fix. We got the numbers there to prove it for you as well. And let's talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, how it works around the workplaces out there. And now we're going to focus on Walmart, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, right, retailer in the United States. Well, their executives there at Walmart have come out and said artificial intelligence will have a hand in reshaping every job in the world. It's not a shocker that they feel that way. We've known that for a while. A lot of companies are saying that, but Walmart chief executive Doug McMillon, he said it's very clear that AI is going to change literally every job. He said all this during that workforce conference at the company's headquarters there in Bentonville, Arkansas as well. The Wall Street Journal gives us this story and kind of the summation. Well, McMillan, the CEO there, is among several chief executives who have been vocal about technology changing the function of some roles. Some positions will be eliminated. The secretarial role, I'm going to use that term. The administration role will be eliminated. AI can handle that stuff, right, and things. But At Walmart specifically, well, McMillan said it is clear that some jobs and tasks would be on the chopping block as well for AI. So, but they also say it will create new roles as well. So it's not all doom and gloom. Executives of Walmart, they've already discussed AI's implications on its workforce during planning meetings with leaders, and they're tracking what job types will decrease, which ones will increase, which ones will, just be able to stay where they are as of right now. But McMillan tried to offer some reassurance out there for people. Now, did he do it? Is the next question, right? He says that Walmart's goal is to, quote, create the opportunity for everybody to make it to the other side, unquote. Meaning, if your job is going to be put aside because of AI, get you trained up into moving into something that you can obviously stay employed with the company moving forward. Over the next 3 years, well, Fox Business was told by Walmart that it expects its headcount, which is about 2.1 million global workers. They say it's going to remain flat because of these evolving roles within Walmart. Earlier this month, Walmart Chief People Officer came out and told employees in a note that the company teamed up with OpenAI to provide both frontline and office-based workers with free AI training, and that's all to prepare them for the jobs of tomorrow. So Walmart is being forward on this. They are interested in training people to these new roles as well, and make sure that there's jobs for people on the back side of whatever AI community is coming up. And it's fascinating to watch this happen in real time with the artificial intelligence and what people think are happening. And when we come back here at McCollum on Business, well, we keep it rolling here as well. We're going to get into some local stories here. Then, of course, Market Watch today with this government shutdown looming. Some Freeport McMoran again. We'll look at that stock and so much more. Come on back. McCollum on Business. And we're back here at McCollum on Business, of course. Appreciate you joining us here on this Tuesday edition, last day of September. Federal government possible shutdown today. All of that is happening right now. We appreciate you joining us, of course. The great Bruce Cooper joined me and 17-year NFL veteran Del Hellestrey on the main event earlier today. If you missed that, it's up on demand at Robat TV. Of course, up as well on the free podcast system. And then the editing and the interview itself is up there on the YouTube channel as well. So we appreciate you guys finding that. As soon as we're done here at McCollum on Business, we get that up on the YouTube channel as well, the free podcast system. Well, no podcast for this show, right? Robat TV, YouTube on the video cuts as well for you. And then, of course, Pit Stop on the YouTube channel, free podcast system as well for that as well for you there. Other news that we're looking at right now, Ford CEO expects EV sales to be cut in half after the end of these tax credits that end today for EV units. Something to keep an eye on as well. Resale value of EV sales get cut in half. Resale value on EVs is going to go to nothing coming up as well. From that side, the government shutdown, though, is the big news here going into today and how that's going to affect everything. So with that news, no updates here. No funding deal is in sight as of right now. Of course, we're looking at 3:36 p.m. on the East Coast. Nothing is looking, and no deal is in sight anytime soon. We're going to see a shutdown here tonight. It's a matter of how long it lasts afterwards and the implications. So join us, of course, the rest of the week here at McCollum on Business. We'll keep you updated on what's happening around business and your money out there. And with that, let's get right back into that Market Watch. And like I said earlier today, everything was selling off, which we generally see on the last day of a month. People taking some profits to offset some losses, balancing books here. Some of the big investing groups needed to balance their books out. Well, today it was a sell-off earlier, but we're seeing some green come back here as well. Not a ton. Market obviously is a little weary of the uncertainty coming here in the marketplace. But the Dow Jones is up to 64 points right now. The S&P 500 is up to 24. NASDAQ's up to 14 points as we talk. That small cap index, the Russell 2K, is down 3 points. And then Bitcoin just kind of hovering, basically even for Bitcoin. It'll lose that 171 down right now in a second. But it's trading at the 114,193 for Bitcoin today. So once the market does shut down later on today, what will that mean for tomorrow in terms of the stock market? Well, we'll have to wake up tomorrow and see where we are. That's why you watch us here at McCollum on Business here as well at Robat TV. And then let's get into stocks we're paying attention to right now. First stock we're going to look at, CoreWeave. 11.75% up for CoreWeave right now. They announced an agreement to provide Meta with $14.2 billion of AI cloud infrastructure. It's a lot of money for this company. That's why they're up 11.79% here today. Meta, $14.2 billion deal working together for them. And then United Natural Foods. That's a grocery distributor out there. A lot of healthy foods. Up 17.51% here today as well. Fiscal fourth quarter loss of 11 cents per share. Well, that was a lot better than they expected. They expected a loss of 18 cents per share, the investors did out there. Revenue also beat expectations for this company. It came in at $7.7 billion. They were only expecting 7.64, the investors were on this company. Blowing their numbers out of the water, United Natural Foods here, 17.76% up as of right now. And then let's do the relook up here on Freeport McMoRan. Of course, a lot of work here in Arizona in our copper mines and gold mines here, but 4.42% up right now for this company. Bank of America has upgraded this company to buy. It was at neutral before, which you say, well, that's an interesting take here since they're having that issue over in Indonesia with that mine and some selling and not making as much money on the materials as they thought they would. Well, Bank of America said that it believes key risks around that Holton mine in Indonesia are priced in, and that commodities team is bullish on the key metal of copper moving forward. So that's why Freeport McMoRan getting that increase here to buy from neutral from Bank of America, and they're up 4.51% here today for, we call it the local mining company here in Arizona. So, they're in a roller coaster right now as a mining company, and, no fault of their own, right? The issue was that Indonesian mine mudslides, somebody had died there, kind of shut down, and something to pay attention to. And, well, if there's one thing that we have enough of here, and it seems like on every corner for most of the city here, is grocery stores, right, folks? Well, Southern California-based Vallarta supermarkets, well, they've made their first attempts here, right? Inroads into Arizona. They plan to open a new store coming up in Glendale in early 2026 for the Southern California grocer. If you don't know who they are, they're based out of Santa Clarita, California. They've operated for over 40 years. They focus mainly on California's Latino customer base. They have those types of products there and things for that clientele. It does have more than 70 stores in California. It continues to expand throughout California through even now. And now Arizona is coming on board for them as well. They've already started the construction on that first Arizona location. It's going to pursue an aggressive growth strategy here in Arizona as well. specifically the Phoenix area. So this first store that's under construction, it's going in the Grandview Plaza. Where's that at, Steve? Well, 59th Avenue and Camelback Road is where it's at. Kind of right on the border there of Phoenix and Glendale, in that 59th Avenue area. Right there, GCU's over in that area as well. The center's ownership moved around a pawn shop tenant within that center, so the grocery store could occupy 49,000 square feet. Is where they're going to go. Kind of, you know that area? It's where the Goodwill store used to be at, for instance. Is where it's going to be at, that area for you there. So another grocery store coming in town. They have very quick expansion plans here in the Valley. That's the first one. We'll have to see where the other ones start to pop up as well for them. And, well, it's a thing that never ends, right, in terms of, governments doing things and then people fighting back, right? The Axon bills are a good example of it as well. But now we got to talk about groundwater supply, specifically around new buildings. State laws passed. Now there's lawsuits. Yeah, because an Arizona Home Builders Organization, and then they're teaming up with the Goldwater Institute. Well, they're challenging a state agency's moratorium that they put out there on new home construction in certain parts of the valley. And it's all around a rule change on dwindling groundwater supplies. How much groundwater supply is underground kind of dictates if you can build in that area or not, right? Well, models released by the Arizona Department of Water Resources, this is the ADWR. Well, last year they put these models out, and they found that groundwater levels are too low in the valley to issue certificates of assured water supply. So that's a requirement and a necessary one for prospective home builders in areas outside the service of designated water providers. So think on the outskirts of towns is where this is affecting. You've got to have enough groundwater for, I want to say it's 100 years, but it's a long time in order to survive and build in those areas is what we're looking at. So these are affecting the outside areas, right? Goodyear, Buckeye, in the East Valley, Queen Creek is affected by this as well. So the Goldwater attorney, his name is John Riches. He represents the Home Builder Association of Central Arizona. They had a hearing on Monday, and he told Maricopa County Superior Court judge that he was in front of that ADWR overstepped its authority by creating rules that he's arguing and the Goldwater Institute's arguing only the legislature has the power to make these rules. Arizona Senate President Warren Peterson, he's a Republican out of Gilbert. House Speaker Steve Montenegro, he's a Republican out of Goodyear. They're backing the Home Builders Association's case with the Goldwater Institute. They filed off a brief in support of the argument in the court that ADWR is doing what the state legislature should be doing. Obviously, the attorneys for ADWR argue the agency is performing the statutory duty because they're monitoring the groundwater levels and basically creating moratoriums on new construction in areas where adequate water supplies are lacking throughout the state as building continues to go on as well. So one of the rules I found here looking into this story, ADRW's rules, one kind of looking at right now is depth to water rule that's kind of affecting these cities. That depth to water rule states that in order for the agency to consider groundwater available, modeling must show that the water levels won't drop more than 1,000 feet below ground level in the Phoenix metro region. So if the models show it dropping below that level, no building can happen there. Certifications will not do that. So that is the rule that ADWR won't issue certificates of assured water supply to builders, and specifically, as I said, Goodyear, Buckeye, Queen Creek. One of the Home Builder Association's complaints is that the depth of water rule isn't location specific. So basically, they're saying if water levels drop too low anywhere in the valley, ADWR won't issue certificates to any other part of the valley either. So they're talking more about that specific side, and that's their concern in this lawsuit. That is happening out there as well, and that's what's going to curtail new building here in Arizona and the Phoenix area over the next several years. We're going to eventually stop expanding out, And we're going to have to, kind of what we're seeing here in downtown, everything's going to be built up at that time, is what we're looking at coming up here. And it's going to be the water supply issue that's going to lead us there. And we'll wrap up today's show with a little bit of sports here. Major League Baseball playoffs are underway. The wild card games get started here today, about 10 a.m. our time, going on all day today as well. And we have some final numbers here to the end of Major League Baseball season. Well, it finished 2025 with its third consecutive year of attendance growth, and interesting enough, sparked by an increase in younger fans watching baseball. The Arizona Diamondbacks saw the team's best attendance since 2008, if you want to look at the local team here. The league had total attendance of 71,409,421. That's a fascinating number that they grew. Why? Tampa Bay Rays no longer in a major league stadium, right? They played in a spring training stadium there in Tampa. The Oakland A's playing in a minor league stadium in Sacramento this year, even despite those lower seating areas. Both of those teams in Major League Baseball higher total attendance there overall with Major League Baseball as well. Third consecutive season, they've surpassed, Major League Baseball has, the 70 million milestone. First time the league has accomplished it since 2015 to 2017 timeframe as well. So back in 2023, Major League Baseball drew 70,747,365 fans. Well, 2024 it was 71,348,413 fans in 2024. So slowly upticking here. Look, say what you want about the ghost runner, say what you want about the pitch clock, etc. Those rules are not only bringing back fans, bringing back younger fans as well. Let's talk a little bit about the D-backs here specifically. Obviously, disappointing season. Finished a couple games out, 4 games out of the wild card spot roughly. 80-82 on the year, so under 500. Well, 2,393,973 fans came through the turnstiles there, just down the road from us here at Chase Fields. So that's more than 50,000 people compared to 2024. And 2024 was the year after that World Series appearance, so they improved even more this year as well. The team had full season attendance of 2,509,924 back in 2008 for that far back in time. The D-backs obviously, dealing with the timeline on improving their stadium for fans as well as the stadium side. So those improvements should help attendance as well. So let's go back to the whole Major League Baseball side of things besides the specific Diamondbacks. And Major League Baseball did report that the average age of single-game ticket buyers on the primary market this season, 43 years old. That is down 3 years, down from 46 in 2023. The average age of ticket buyers on the secondary market was 39. It's down 3 from 42 in 2023 as well. Baseball and young people are coming back into baseball with these rule changes that Rob Manfred and these ownership have put in. Say what you want about them. They are bringing the young people back into Major League Baseball as well. Don't forget the balanced schedule, pitching clock, ghost runner to speed up the games and extra innings. A lot of that stuff is a lot of success here as well. Of course, Rob Manfred and the owners have kind of leaned on that for the reasons for the lower people out there as well. So obviously a lot of stars out there. I mean, there's always a bunch of stars, but we're seeing a lot of young stars right now in Major League Baseball as well. That will bring young people out to the game as well, right? Ohtani obviously bringing a lot of people to the ballpark as well. But even here in Arizona with, you got Corbin Carroll, right? Jake McCarthy, right? Perdomo, Jordan Lawler. Younger stars bring out the younger players as they can kind of relate to them as opposed to the older side as well. So I did look up here, with, Tampa Bay Rays played in Steinbrenner Field over there in Tampa and everything. What was their attendance? Obviously, minor league or spring training park there. Well, the Rays saw their average attendance drop, and this is the worst in Major League Baseball, 41.2% year over year. It went from 16,515 average to 9,713 average. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with the stadium. They don't have the seats that you had before as well. the Rays have a new owner coming in. If they're, I can't remember. I think it's been approved. Rays have a new ownership coming in as well. So they got to get the Major League Stadium, Tropicana Field, back up, find a permanent stadium for them, things like that. But 42% down for the Rays there in Tampa. Now, we brought up Sacramento earlier for the A's as well. They're playing there. The A's are playing there for 2 more years before moving, hopefully, to Las Vegas in 2028. While the A's were down 17.7% year over year, their average attendance was 11,529 in Oakland. Well, in Sacramento this year, 9,488 for the A's there. Again, smaller stadium. The A's problem, though, is people didn't attend their games when they were in Oakland either. So it's seemed to see that. That is why it's amazing, right, that the A's did not have a big drop by moving to that minor league stadium out there. Just interesting as well. If you want to go back, this is an interesting stat I saw just on a side note here, right? So the average attendance for the A's here in Sacramento this year was at 9,488. Well, in 2022 at Oakland Coliseum, well, they only drew an average of 485 more fans in 2022 in Oakland Coliseum. So the A's are an interesting deal when you break out those two sides. The undisputed leader in attendance, yes, Arizona Diamondbacks foe there, and it's not the Padres. The Dodgers set an all-time attendance mark for them. They also became the first team to draw more than 4 million fans since 2008 as well. The Mets came close. They posted an MLB best 33.3% year-over-year increase. They had 3 million, just over 3.1 million fans going there as well. So they increased it about 10,000 fans per game as well for them in the Mets side of things. So a little Major League Baseball, there's some good things happening there as well. Obviously, we talked about Tampa Bay Rays being 42% down. Stadium issue there. St. Louis is a great baseball town, and the Cardinals were down 21.8% year over year. Worst attendance for them since 1995 as well. Yes, the Baltimore Orioles had a huge downside as well, but their team was terrible with injuries and other things. But I was shocked St. Louis is up there. That is a great baseball town. They support their team. Well, they did, left and right, no matter what for them, for St. Louis. So, hey, I appreciate you joining us here for McCollum on Business Tuesday edition. We'll be back Wednesday. What does the government shutdown do for us out there? I know there's one less business source here in the Valley with a money radio situation coming to a head today as well. So share us with your friends. Hit us up on the YouTube, of course, Robat TV if you have your subscription there. And tell your friends about us here. We'll get you updated on all your business needs. And folks, we'll see you tomorrow on McCollum on Business.